Hey, welcome back to the State of Love and Trust. It's episode 293, and this week we head to Atlanta to talk to a fantastic young indie rocker who melds the blues with rock and roll grooves, and it's so good. Let's get loud with this week's guest.
Hey, I'm Zach Person, and this is the State of Love and Trust. Let's get loud.
Welcome to another episode of the State of Love and Trust podcast. I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, is...
Paul Ghiglieri.
Mid whiskey. You love to catch him in a
Hey,
golf.
we're talking blues tonight. My good man.
Well, blues adjacent, if you're talking to...
That's fair.
Rock indie with a blues bass. I don't know. What am I doing, Paul? Blues bass.
It sounds like a hell of a whiskey. I'll tell you that much.
It does. It does. If you're watching us here on YouTube, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. The algorithm will thank you, and so will we. And speaking of algorithms, Paul, if they're listening only, what should they do?
You're going to rate, you're going to review, and hopefully you're going to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm the same way you feed your Valentine with sweet nothings and Hershey's Kisses. Feed it, because we need it.
Speaking of Valentine's Day, Paul, how was yours? Because it just happened.
It was unforgettable.
I'm sure your wife will love the pause. Oh, man. It's a good thing we don't edit those things out. That's what makes the show. Anyways, I'm sure our guest is loving this preamble because it's going to lead right into a fantastic interview. This gentleman, no lie, found him probably about a year ago, and I've been really into the guitar solos, the singing, the lyrics, the grooves, the overall energy from his music, and it's been compounded recently by current events, and we're going to get into all that with our guest this week, Zach Person. Our guest this week is a supremely talented guitarist and singer-songwriter from Atlanta, Georgia, who's redefining blues rock. Zach has built a reputation for explosive live performances, soulful vocals, and a sound that fuses classic rock firepower with contemporary edge. With gritty riffs, sharp songwriting, and a fearless approach to the instrument, he's part of a new generation carrying the blues tradition forward. Welcome to the show, Zach Person.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for being with us tonight, Zach.
Absolutely.
Like I said before we got going, thanks for staying up late. I love that you're in the studio. I love that we see the axes and the amps on the side. I feel at home.
Yes. Yeah, this is my cozy little studio.
Fantastic. I want to get going talking about your upbringing and your early music endeavors, and I'll give some folks kind of a cliff notes so we can just dive into the heat of the meat here. Originally from North Carolina, is that right?
Yes, I mean, technically, if we're going back,
born in Jersey.
Born in Jersey, yeah, born in South Jersey.
Nice.
And then, along with my drummer Jake Weibel, we're both from there. Met 20-ish years later in Austin, Texas. But yeah, grew up in, from a little kid until like 13 in North Carolina. Started, playing music there, and then we moved to Texas and did the whole thing.
I read that you got into guitar because you like watching punk bands at skate parks. Is that right?
Yeah. I started skating right around 8.5, 9 years old, and then quickly kind of learned like my dreams of being a pro skater were, probably not going to work out. No, I mean, like even at 9 years old, I feel like I had the wherewithal. I'm looking around like I'm the only one that's scared to like drop in on this ramp. Everybody else is just doing it over and over again. And then I started to get more interested with what was happening in the corner with the, the punk bands thrashing around. And I was like, okay, I want to play guitar.
Well, a lot of the folks in our audience are massive Pearl Jam fans. And by the way, you don't have to pander to them at all. But Pearl Jam's bass player, Jeff Ament, is like a connoisseur of punk rock and skateboarding. So you're already endearing yourself to your audience. So that's great. Point number one. But what about those punk bands? And then later your revelations of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimmy Page and Jimi Hendrix, all those guys, Eric Clapton. What convinced you that guitar was the thing for you?
I don't know. I mean, like it was the focal point for me. I was just kind of, really interested in what I was seeing, like these giant, half stack amps and people, it looked fun to me. I remember that was my first impression. There was always like music in the house. My mom was a great singer. She wanted me to sing as well, and I was always too shy to do it. I think there was also, something with like, Guitar Hero that put more of a focus on the guitar. I was like an avid Tony Hawk pro skater sort of, guy. So like all those riffs and on all those tunes are, rattling through my brain. So, guitar just it stuck out to me. I feel like I almost gave it up at one point, or maybe I would have at least like come around to it a few years later than I did originally. I think I had gone through maybe a period of like a month or so or 2 months where I wasn't really playing the little beater Walmart guitar that we had, and we went to a yard sale. It was like a citywide yard sale. And there was one guy that was just kind of set up in the corner with a little PA, and he was actually playing, I think, a mandolin or something, and or ukulele. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. So again, another impression of somebody, playing out in public. And he was like, do you play? I'm like, yeah, a little bit. And he's like, well, do you need lessons? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, the guy I had to go to is right around the corner. His name is Baxter Clement. He's the best teacher in the, in the city. But he was like, but if you get lessons, like he doesn't take everybody. So you got to like take it seriously. So I remember showing up to my first lesson really serious and like trying to make sure I could, do a good job. And, it was him that kind of, I feel like really, I had that initial burst of interest, but like he just, fanned the flame and got me, kept it going. The first lesson, he was like, what are you listening to? And I was like, I think I was listening at the time. It was a random collection of songs that was on this iPod that I had. There was some good stuff. There was Blackberry Smoke, Black Sabbath. But I think the main band, I think my favorite band at that point was like 3 Doors Down. And he's like, that's cool.
Hey, shout out Brad Arnold, huh? Come on.
Yeah. He was like, that's cool. But he's like, I think you should listen to like, Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, Eric Clapton. So he gave me an alphabetical list. And the first person on that list was B.B. King. So I went home, and this is YouTube was very new. B.B. King. First thing that comes up is him with Gary Moore, and he's wearing a big green suit, and they're playing Thriller's Gone. And like from that moment, I was kind of
done. Yeah.
That was it. Right on, man. So you moved to Austin, Texas when you were 20, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're there. You end up playing at Friends Bar on the infamous 6th Street. A little bit of a residency for you, I think. So what did playing for like a diverse crowd that turns over consistently kind of teach you about being a showman, how to connect with an audience?
A lot. I got an experience playing in Houston quite a bit. Like I started kind of there playing, and my first band was called Project X in middle school. It was a bunch of like me and some middle school friends, and then high school turned over, and I started just playing solo acoustic gigs, like really trying to do like the Ed Sheeran thing with the looper pedal and everything. And then I remember at the time it was a church that reached out and asked me if I could play guitar, and I didn't even own an electric guitar at that point, and they were like, we got a rig, just come and play. I was like, okay. So I showed up, and there was a Marshall like half stack, and he had a custom shop Fender Strat.
At the church?
Yeah.
Ooh, in a custom shop Strat?
It was this young guy that was like 23, and he had this cool rig, and I was like, okay. And like I strummed a big chord to the PA, and I was like, okay, I need to do this again. And so I got a band and started playing out in a trio, and like kind of like, from like, 10th grade of high school, on, I was trying to play with trios and, around Houston. And I did the idol thing for a minute, came back, did more trio stuff around Houston. So I was used to playing out in public spaces. But when I moved to Austin, I actually, somebody gave me a tip about Friends Bar. They said, there's a Monday night slot that's coming available. This guy, Eric Tesmer, has been there for 11 years and he's like finally giving up that residency. And I think you could, step in if you audition and you do well. So I went to Austin to try to do the thing. And they were like, well, when I first got there, they were like, the spot's already been filled. And I was like, well, I thought we had it in the bag with our audition. I'm like, I got to go see who they booked. Like, he's got to be really awesome or something. And I checked him out and I was kind of like blown away. And this guy has become my like favorite guitarist, musician, just in general, Dave Scher. You got to check him out. He's really cool. Plays rhythm guitar for Eric Johnson.
Then there you go.
I don't think Eric Johnson needs another guitarist on stage, but he's great. And we ended up getting the Thursday night slot that ended up coming available shortly after that. So it was 11. I think it was 11 to 2 a.m. every Thursday night. We were doing that sort of gig. And like you mentioned, the turnover, like, it's just bars up and down the street. And, if things get slow, people just trickle into the next bar. So we oftentimes just did the 3 hours straight through. If somebody had to go to the bathroom, then the rest of the band just keeps going. Most of the time that wasn't me getting off, but somebody would take a break and then we'd run back up and to keep the show going, to keep people there. I think my biggest takeaway from that experience was like just kind of like experimenting with crowds. Like I did a lot of tests because we'd have like, people, a lot of college age students coming over from UT campus. Yeah. And then it'd be mixed with everybody. But like, I noticed at one point with the Stevie Ray Vaughan and the blues and, even the classic rock covers, it was like kind of one demographic. And like, I would see people my age and, just different groups. And I'm like, why are they leaving? I want everybody to be here. Like, why are they bored? This is, kind of disappointing. And so I started just to see like, is it that they don't connect with the music, or is it because they like a preconception about what they're going to hear? Because I would be like, you wants to hear like a Jimi Hendrix song, and like, maybe there's a group of like 10 college age girls that were like, Jimi Hendrix, yeah, and they walk out, and then
John Mayer,
right. But then then I would do like, who wants to hear a Bruno Mars song? And that same group would be like, yeah. And I would just play a Jimi Hendrix song, do Fire, because it's funky and you can kind of, they'd be like, oh, I don't know this Bruno Mars song. And they would stay. And I'm like, okay. So they like the music. They just, the preconceived idea. So I did all sorts of experiments. And this finally led up to like, at one point I like looked around at Friends Bar. I'm like, everybody's here and everybody's staying. And that, I think, we were doing a lot of covers then, but I think that kind of shaped me into like, okay, this is who I am. And this is like what, like this balance between everything is what like I want to be with my original music, to make sure that everybody kind of can like come to the party and feel like they're receiving something.
I love it. Cool. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're pretty good friends with Rhett Shull, yes?
Yeah. We met, when I moved here to Atlanta, and
he's Atlanta based. Yeah. Big YouTube content creator guy. Anybody who hasn't checked out Rhett's supremely well produced guitar videos should go check that out. Rhett is not one to speak outside of his guitar lane, so to speak, but he recently did and posted on Instagram how disgusted he is with the current state of affairs with the Trump administration and all the ICE stuff that's happening, especially in Minneapolis. And just a week earlier, maybe it was 2 weeks earlier, you did something similar on your channel. And Paul and I were just talking recently about how it feels impossible for artists to kind of avoid the cultural zeitgeist that is happening right now. What made you feel compelled to speak out as a guitarist and a songwriter?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in my earlier 20s, I had a manager that, just try to keep me away from, almost everything that would be controversial in any sort of way, not just politics. And so I was kind of, in a sense, media trained by him not to do that. And so, yeah, oftentimes I tend to not post stuff in that vein, but I don't know, it's just so blatant, and there's been so much of it in like the last several months, weeks. It was building up, and then there was one specific week where I guess my algorithm was getting hit pretty hard with everything, and there was one specific video. I remember this woman in Minneapolis, and she was kind of like, I don't know if people are seeing like what's happening here. I don't know if like people's algorithms aren't showing them what's happening, because she's like, I feel like a lot of us are like trying to get out the seriousness of everything, and it's just, it doesn't seem like people are hearing it based upon what we see people keeping like posting. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then I like intentionally like dug in to see what was happening in that in that scene, and it was like I didn't know. Yeah, I don't know just how intense it was specifically there at that that current moment. And so I don't know. I just felt like, man, like, I don't know, need to say something like that. I feel like there needed to be more people speaking up just in general. And, it was a first for me, but I felt like, I don't know, I felt like a desire to like, be at least a helpful voice and like get the conversation started, at least within my group, like of people that are following and paying attention to what I'm doing. And it seemed to like, like help. I got feedback from some other folks that say, like might not have said anything, but I think I looked into it after seeing this, and like, now I feel like I need to, do something too. So it was nice to see that happen. And I think I posted something about, we'll get back to the music soon. And, it's hard to, try to find the balance there, I think, between,
because you're a human. You're not just a musician. You're a human, and all this shit affects you too. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Zach, let's talk about that music for a second. We were talking last week on an episode, kind of reflecting on the Grammys and just unpacking just the state of music, and talking a little bit about how like great eras of music seem to be when musicians don't try to put solutions into their music, but rather connect with how reality is making everyone feel. I think of a song like, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, about the Vietnam War era. I know that's a great example of how we're not necessarily offering a ticket with a solution to it, but raising question. I mean, the song is literally a question. You know what I mean? And it just kind of gets people thinking. And right now, people are justified in feeling a lot of things very, very deeply. So, is this kind of connection something that you want to tackle in your songwriting? And if so, are you apprehensive on how to do so, considering just how divisive these times are?
I mean, no, not necessarily. I mean, like, I Make It is a song I have that was like kind of, it was more so like a lot of the Let's Get Loud album was kind of like me venting about, getting out of the control or the illusion of control of my first, management label situation. Cause that got very personal as well, and crossed a lot of boundaries. But, I was just like, I felt like, that I've always felt like that song could connect, for like a greater movement for something down the line. And I don't know, I made a little clip just, sharing footage of all the stuff that was happening. And
saw that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like against, that at all. I mean, because again, I was kind of limited on what I was told that I could, talk about. So even during the pandemic, when all those protests were happening and stuff, like, I mean, there's a song on the very first album that it was like a protest song, like a, old school 60s style, protest tune. And we still play it today. A lot of people love it. But, there was times like we've been on tour, like with, a bunch of different acts, like some acts that like on the surface didn't make sense. And like in a weird way, they ended up being really fun. And, but some of like those tours, like, we're out in places I never, expected to go play to. And we're playing to like audiences where it's like, oh, I don't know if I should be singing this song right now. I'm just gonna make a couple words quieter here in the certain sections. But I've definitely connected. "Wanna Fly" is the song on the first album that kind of hits on those on some points, from the 2020 stuff. So
let's dive a little bit deeper into the songwriting. Your music clearly carries the DNA, like we talked about with blues and classic rock. I don't think it feels nostalgic, though. It feels more urgent than that. And when you step into a lineage that's so deeply tied to American history, what questions are you asking about what to preserve and what to disrupt? Like, how does the tension reflect the moment we're living in now?
Well, if we're talking from like a sonic sort of perspective,
both sonic and themes.
Yeah. I'll start with the sonic perspective. Like in my mind, I'm thinking we talked about this because I've talked about the Black Keys so much today with different folks, but like people like them, I feel like, they produce, blues music in such a sleek way that like, my wife, like I remember having a conversation with her about the Black Keys, and she was like, "Oh, they're not blues, they're like rock." And I'm like, this is a blues song, but it's like, it's produced in such a way where it feels like modern and fun. And like what most people think of blues, as having like an older
B.B. King,
sort of,
Nina Simone, yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
even the early Black Keys stuff like Thick Freakness and stuff like that. It's like that's obviously they were poorer, then they couldn't afford the good stuff. But like even going back to that,
yeah, it's like up tempo. It's I mean, not all of it, but the beats are more like sort of funky or hip hop based grooves. I've always like put like 808s and synths and sort of stuff inside the music, just to make it, stand up to, like my goal is that any of these songs can end up on, mainstream radio next to a Rihanna song or whatever. And, it's seamless. It doesn't feel like, oh, this was underproduced. I wanted to stand up to all those tunes. That was sonic. You mentioned what was the other angle?
Like lyrically speaking.
Yeah. Oh, theme wise, I don't know. I guess like any sort of genre, just like talking about the themes of the day. What's today's blues or what's today's rock. I mean, I don't necessarily consider myself like a blues artist. I feel like it's blues based. But it's blues in the way that, like, Jack White is blues or Jimi Hendrix is blues, or, again, the Black Keys are the way that they're blues. They're considered rock acts. When they win a Grammy, it's like a best rock act. But it's still blues. But yeah, I guess talking about like modern themes, and then I've always, I guess, had an interesting relationship with the blues too, because I think because I've had so many influences. Genre wise and artist wise, that when it came to staying like traditional in like a 12 bar or even with sounds and using it's so funny because they used to use fuzz pedals back in the day, and like now the traditional blues is like seen as this really clean sort of sound, but I always wanted to take the music further, and that I feel like that hurt me in some situations where like the traditional blues societies and communities were kind of like,
oh, you're getting pigeonholed.
Yeah, they were like, no, but that's not blues. You calm it down a little bit, turn it down a little bit, be a little bit quieter, a little bit softer. I'm like, well, I want to. So like, I feel like some of those avenues I kind of missed out on, and then when it came to the pop world, I wasn't really pop enough. And like for instance, I mean, just recently, like last year for the Let's Get Loud album, my manager was pitching it out to different people at like Live Nation or Roll, and like, their responses like before listening, it's like, hey, don't send me any blues music. Like I told you, like we don't know what to do with that. And it's like there's not a blues song really on this album. There's one.
If they didn't listen to it, then what are they judging that on?
Their last, the closest. Thing that they can see that was relevant in their, recent memories of somebody aesthetically that, that's holding the guitar. doing blues.
Well, you know what? Let's hang with that. This idea of like the blues rock archetype, right? I mean, it's historically loaded, culturally, racially, politically. As a young artist embodying a form shaped by Black pioneers and later mainstreamed in different ways, how do you wrestle with what it means to inhabit that space? Because like you're in a unique space, like you're standing on the shoulders of giants. Like, what questions about ownership over your music and its place in the genre and the evolution of it, of that sound into where you're taking it? How do you wrestle with what it means to inhabit that space in a responsible way? Or do you not feel the responsibility at all? I don't know.
I got to break that down a little bit, I think, because like if we're talking about like feeling like honoring a legacy and a tradition, like I definitely, I think I mean, like I feel like I do that in the every solo. I think you can hear the decades or century now, probably close to, of music and influence and history in every solo that I do. I mean, a lot of my stuff is pentatonic based, even, singing. I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like I do carry that with me in everything that I do. Like I said, every song, every guitar solo, you can hear kind of that. It's not just me too. It's like there's me and like a group of so many folks that I know that I think are, kind of paying tribute to that legacy and trying to carry that on. And I think part of like, me trying to add these modern elements into the music as well is also trying to make it accessible, like to, younger listeners.
So that's not just carrying on, that's carrying forward, right?
Yeah. So you're not weighted down by it. You're excited about carrying the baton is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. For instance, let me say this, like I grew up kind of in a time, or I won't say I grew up in a time, but like when I first when I did like the Idol thing, I feel like that was kind of like the beginning of like my career starting to become something, more. And like I got around the Hollywood side of the music industry. And that's very different from like the music side of the music industry, and I kind of was told, like, okay, shorten the guitar solos or no guitar solos, push pop in this pop direction. It was just like, all right, think commercial. And some of that was good, but like, I got pushed to a point so far that I was like, trying to make music that I didn't really connect with and want to play. And like, even when we would go out and like play at friends bar, half the time I'd be like, we got to play for 3 hours. And I have an hour and a half of music that I could play that's original, but I don't really want to play any of it. And if I do, like I feel better and the crowd feels better when we do these Zeppelin covers and whatever. And I had a revelation at Austin City Limits when I saw the keyboard player. I'm not going to be able to think of his name right now. It's okay.
Which band?
James Blake. Yeah, when I saw James Blake play, that was one revelation. In a different sort of sense, the bigger one was Greta Van Fleet. Seeing them and like seeing this huge crowd of old and young and everything else, like in between, like audience there loving it, and I'm like, they're doing like even more spot on, right. Like than I was doing with like the tribute to like that style and era of music, and people are loving it and nobody's critiquing them. I'm like, that's what I do. And I feel like I wasted a few years trying to do something other than that. And so that kind of moment forced me to go back and like, I'm like, okay, we play a whole lot of love here. What can I do to replace the energy and the feeling of that moment? What can we do? All right, let's write a song that can replace that. And so I kind of started trying to write to create, replace the songs and the feeling, or at least the feelings of those songs and energy for different moments in the set. And then everything started to click, Yeah.
It's almost like you started finding the confidence in your agency to write what you want to write as opposed to the outside forces. You almost got like a thick candy shell to deflect all that, right?
Right.
You're an Eminem and you didn't know.
I mentioned your second record that came out in 2024, Let's Get Loud. And if anyone watches your videos, they know that that title has become sort of a calling card or a mantra for you. I want to know what Let's Get Loud meant to you while you were writing it and what it means now if it's different.
I'll tell you where it came from. So like during the pandemic, we were all trying to figure out what to do. My managers at the time had suggested that I do like a YouTube show. So he's like, you're good at doing all these covers. Like, he's like, why don't you do the cover online, but like maybe do like a behind the song sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And it was a show called Amplified, which I stopped doing. And now there's another channel with a similar logo and they do a similar thing. They don't perform the song, but it's kind of that same idea, which they're doing it way more consistent and better than I ever was. So I'm happy to see it.
Hey, but did they have a story about a Gibson LG1 conversion? No,
they did not. No, they did not.
Anyways,
but yeah, I started doing that, and it was way too much. We were trying to. I was tasked with doing 3 episodes a week and editing it. It was too much. But in the transition from the story to the live performance part, we were like. He's like, yeah, you need a transition moment. He's like, it just goes into it. You need something. And he was like, it needs to be like, let's play or something. And like, we were trying to do stuff. And then that was where like, oh, it's going to be, all right, let's get loud. And then it would transition into like us playing. And, I kind of like just kept saying that, or maybe it was a joke that I said it on every episode. But it became like, just like a cool thing that I like to say, and started writing it on stuff. And then we named a tour, the Let's Get Loud tour. And like, I don't know. It was just always there. And then I started doing hashtag Let's Get Loud on a bunch of stuff. And like, when it came time for like not the first album was self-titled, but when it came time for, I feel like my first album, that I, felt like I was fully involved in it. I was like, what am I going to title this? And I'm like, well, it's been used quite a bit at this point, but let's just do it. Cause that was like a redefining era for me. Like, kind of, again, there was a huge backstory with the management and stuff. But once I kind of got out from that, it was kind of like me and Jake and everybody, we all looked around. We're like, whoa, okay. It's like a fresh start. I was out of the blues world by the blues community, but I was kind of in the blues world from the pop community. I'm like, I want to define myself, as an indie rock act and make sure that that's what people are saying. So I was like, okay, cover, leather jacket, point the SG into the, to the camera and like, let's get loud. Like, let's make a statement. So that was kind of what that meant, entitling the songs. Kind of maybe back that up, and over time, like it's become more, more like a part of my branding, and like I think somebody like Lenny Kravitz, is "Let Love Rule," and I saw like how that's been used over merch and over like so much stuff, throughout his lifetime, and I was like,
show me the stickers, Zach. Where are the stickers?
Oh man,
I know you got them there.
Yeah, I've got them. Let's see if I can. Bam! There we go.
There it is. Everybody, go get them.
Yeah, that's this. This version of it's fairly new. We made some merch earlier this year, and some really cool Gator merch company. They made this logo of it, and so probably roll with that moving forward. But
so much of that record, though, is like in response to what you dealt with previously. Recording the first record, right? So like when you think about the time we're living in, which is just, I mean, it's defined by short attention spans and like algorithm driven consumption, right? But when you play music, it demands focus. It's physical, it's immersive, sometimes it's even confrontational, not in a bad way, but I think in a provocative way. So do you see things like extended guitar solos, raw performance, almost as a form of resistance? What does it mean to ask people to stay with something like that in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, it can be tricky, on trying to capture attention. I think that's part of it too. Was like, trying to cut through the noise. That's part of the Let's Get Loud thing, like make a big statement, like even going back to the feeling of being on 6th Street and all the competition between bars. It was like, we need to be the loudest, not hurting people, but like, we had a joke because the first tour we did was called Let's Get Loud. The next one was Let's Get Louder tour. And then like somebody's like, your next one needs to be, we're all deaf now. But
handing out free earmuffs.
Right. But a part of it was just like, making we need to be the loudest, best band, making the biggest sound, capturing everybody's attention on the street. And maybe that transcends. I think it transcends into what we're doing today. Like, felt like, I haven't had the, record deal or sort of situation where it's just been like money dumped to like, billboards here. Like it's like every show we've gotten, we've just had to play our butts off and like try our best to be the act on the festival or on the bill where everybody's like, man, we came to see this, but these guys stole the show. That's always been our goal, when we show up and nobody knows who we are.
Those are my favorite kind of acts. And you go to a festival or you just kind of show up because your friend's band's playing but you show up early and you're like, who the hell is that? Oh man, I got a new favorite band or guitarist or singer or whatever. I love those aha moments. A lot of the focus today on this chat has been about, I think, connection between audience and you. And I want to mention something that just happened recently in popular culture, and that is Bad Bunny's performance a few days ago at the Super Bowl. He had on his on the big sign back there, he told the world that the only thing that is stronger than hate is love. And I think it's these positive connections that feel like our only way out of the darkness that a lot of us find ourselves in right now. When I listen to you, I feel joy. I feel good, which is the point. But like, what kind of light does Zach Person want to bring to this darkness right now? What exactly are you trying to? What kind of connections are you trying to build through your music and your platform?
I can answer that question, but as you're saying that, I was just thinking about like, taking me back to, some of those situations where again, like we're in like some very like rural areas and like the audience, is very intimidating. And I'm like, I don't know what the response is going to be. And then like, kind of playing through those moments and, winning over those audiences, like, I think that's the goal, or one of the goals is, to try and, reach people.
You're the bridging, right?
Bridging, exactly. Bridging. That's the word I was searching for. Like bridging the gap, through music, even when we did those when I did those videos, the first video I did, talking about the ICE situation, I had the music stuff in the background. I had the Les Paul leaned up against the couch, and then the second video I had it right here, and that part of that was, again I'm kind of generalizing, but like part of that was like there's probably a big demographic that plays, is into guitar, that's probably maybe of a different mindset than I am, but if I can show that, hey, we connect, we're into the same stuff, maybe there's a common thing where they're like, well, maybe I should listen to him because maybe he's more like me. So, there's that.
Here's a weird example, Zach. I don't know if you saw this, but it's not a one-for-one comparison, but the Limp Bizkit, you're aware of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wes Borland just came out and really criticized people who want to make this country better again. And he was like, fuck all y'all. No. And you would have a very easy time prejudging that group and its leader by who that fan base is. But if you were on the fence and you kind of liked what they did musically, but you just didn't feel comfortable going to Jacksonville to watch them, but you heard Wes Borland say that, you go, you know what? Maybe there's more connection here than meets the eye, and there's more connection side by side in the crowd than I would have thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I asked you earlier about speaking out like Rhett did, because I think there's more that's connecting us than the algorithms are leading us to believe. That's why music is so important, I think.
I think so. I absolutely think so.
Zach, we've been talking a lot tonight about how music helps us ask better questions. You talk about building bridges. And those questions, I think, that music helps us ask better questions about who we are and where we're going. But I'm curious, when you write a song, when you perform for an audience, what questions are you trying to answer? Either for them or for yourself?
Probably not in the moment. I'm usually more of a take in information and download it and then reflect on it. And then, after time has passed, then it kind of clears up the whole picture. I'm like, oh, that's what that was about. I don't know. I think every tour, experience, I come back, I feel like with having grown perspective wise, and learned, various lessons, questions that I'm trying to answer. I feel like my experience has been more so like I write music and I don't know necessarily what it's about or why. And I put it out there.
So that's the question that you're answering, right? I mean, you're asking questions that essentially allow you to ask questions, or you're writing music that essentially allow you to ask questions.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like subconsciously, I guess, asking the question because I thought I knew what I was talking about, I guess. But then like I'll come down, like it'll be a year or two later and I'll be like, oh, that's what that song was about. Like, okay, that song was like, I thought that was a song where I was like, singing this and like, this was actually me telling that person, hey, this is the situation. Like, this is messed up or this is a good thing. Like, I feel like that's my questions get answered after it's been out. Sometimes people will tell me what a song means to them, and I'm like, oh, I think that is what it means. I thought it meant this, but you're saying this. Like,
so if I ask you 10 years from now what a song means, your answer might change from what you tell me today. Is what you're saying,
right?
Exactly. So there's an organic kind of like life process to this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Very cool. Interesting.
Unless somebody gets the lyrics wrong and then they have a weird interpretation of it. I remember somebody with Muddy Water, the chorus is, I might just sing when I'm falling down. I'll finally see when I hit the ground. And they were like, that song about sleeping. I love that song. I'm like, sleeping. They're like, yeah, I might just sleep when I'm falling down. I'll finally sleep when I hit the ground. I love sleeping. I'm like, oh,
it's a great story about concussion.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you didn't correct him, did you, in the moment?
No,
you didn't.
Hey, so you're not, because some
you don't want to kill that joy.
Some lyricists, songwriters specifically don't want to tell the audience what they were thinking when they wrote it because they want everybody to have their own interpretation. You're saying your own interpretation could be modified by future Zach.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, like sometimes people like if they say this is what I thought the song was about. I'm like, yeah, no. But like other times, it's kind of like when you like go into like a therapist or somebody, and they're like, yeah, this is a story you believe, but this is what this is really about. And sometimes people have interpretations of songs. I'm like, oh my god, like you actually that is really what it was about. I didn't realize that. Sometimes people nail it like right on the right on the head.
Huh. Very cool.
I want to close this on a lighter note. I know you're a really big Chris Stapleton fan, and hence the guitar video. By the way, go check out Zach's YouTube channel. It's a great story about the LG one I referenced earlier. Who do you want to collaborate with besides Chris, of course? Who would you? I know you did that song with Kathy from the Go-Go's.
Yeah.
Who else would you really want to dial a song in with?
I mean, Dan Arbach, I feel like would be fun. Like, I feel like, he's never done anything that like, melodically or anything that I disagreed with. So he'd be fantastic. Jack White, I feel like I'm scared to meet him. I feel like, cause I want it to be so good. And I feel like, I'd be very disappointed if he was like, I don't like anything you're doing. So that'd be cool. You know, people like Madison Cunningham would be cool. Yeba. I love Yeba. I don't know if you listen to her.
I don't know. No, I don't know her.
It's Abby backwards. She changed her name halfway through her career, and do check her out. Actually start off with her Tiny Desk session. Desk. It's like 4 songs. She's been out on the road with opening for like people like John Mayer. She had like Pino Palladino and
oh my god,
yeah, like vocally, like she's just incredible. So I would love to do something with her. I don't know that would ever happen. Just I don't know
manifest, Zach.
Would ever cross paths. But
hey man, you just put it out in the ether. It's there now.
Yeah. You know, folks like that. I mean, obviously, any of the legends that are still standing, like, you know, Clapton or something like that would be cool. You know what? Actually, we were talking about Led Zeppelin, about who we want to like do something with from Led Zeppelin, me and the band, and it was like, I actually think it'd be cooler to collaborate with like Robert Plant than Jimmy Page. I don't know why. Like, just if I had to choose between, you know, members, I like my bet was on Robert Plant. I don't know.
Okay,
but anyway,
I mean, there's no wrong choices there, my friend.
I mean, either one, but yeah.
Well, you listen to that second album he did with Alison Krauss. I mean, that had some really cool, like bluesy country feel to it, and so there's some good tracks on there. So I totally get that.
Yeah. Well, there's a few. I mean, I could keep going, but yeah.
Yeah. I know you have some new music coming out in March. Is that right?
Yeah. Releasing a song, one single to start the outpour of new music for the year. It's a song called Blow. My music is kind of spans different feelings and genres. This one's definitely like right in that, you know, Seattle grunge sort of element. I
told you not to pander.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I went to Seattle. We've done a lot of events over the years with Amazon and then with the Kraken, you know, team, and like, so we spent a lot of time in Seattle, and I love it. It's literally, it's one of my favorite cities. And, you know, in a different life, you know, I would live there, but it doesn't make sense for anything I'm doing at the moment. But I like to go there as much as possible. Anywhere where, like, you know, mountains meet, you know, big bodies of water like that. It's and then you have that like you know, there's an ideal part of me that wants to wake up most mornings of the week and just kind of walk down, you know, to the little the port there and just, you know, sit in all the fog and everything, and, you know, drink a coffee there in Pike Place. But yeah, like I just kind of like fell in love with that whole scene. So there's a lot of music, even on Let's Get Loud, that was kind of, you know, wasn't originally there, and then it ended up taking up space on the back half of that album because of all that, you know, like songs like Gravity, Show are definitely, you know, inspired by that whole world, and this one is too, you know. So,
well, I'm looking forward to Blow coming out, and I have one more suggestion for you for a collaboration, and that's Cameron Lavie Jones of King Youngblood.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, he's
kid,
awesome.
We had him on the show a few months back, and very impressed with him and his group, and they just put out that song with the Neville guys. So, anyways, I can keep talking to you
shows together before, and we had breakfast at his house one day. He's great. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, I really love doing "Cried in My Cadillac," all those songs. I think my favorite one is oh my gosh, I can't remember right now. But yeah, he's awesome.
Very genuine guy. We like him on this show.
Absolutely.
Zach,
we like you too, Zach. So thanks for coming on.
I was gonna say that, Paul. I was gonna say we also like Zach.
Thanks for having me. How did you guys stumble across the music? I was curious. What platform? Where did you first hear? I'm always curious how people find.
I think it was the ZZ Top song with Rhett initially a year ago, but then you started showing up on my Instagram feed, And I was like, listen, we got a dirty guitar solo in some sick grooves. I'm in. And so I just kind of kept on following. But
I found I did it the hard work way. So I will actually go on to iTunes and I will go like genre by genre, and I'll just look at recent releases, things like that. And so that's how I found you at the time. I will go through every one and just like sample some tracks and just like listen for a sound that grabs me. And so that's how I initially found you, is going about it that way.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean it's and I encourage people, who watch and listen to put in that effort. Like the amount of time that people are just like doom scrolling, man, on Instagram. It's like, well, why don't you jump onto a music platform and do that same thing, but sample sounds? You know what I mean? Like listen to some songs, listen to 30 seconds of something, just go through something, just give music a chance instead of just like floating through internet. I mean, obviously Instagram is an important platform for you, but
when you find a new song or a new artist that like really grabs you after putting in that kind of like old school record store level of work to find it, there's a payoff where it's like, oh man, this is my guy. This is my group, because I put in I got dirt under my fingernails from, doing the work to find them. There's like again, I could talk about connection. There's a connection to that artist because you feel like I found them. Oh my God.
Yeah, but you're not mine anymore, Zach. Like Elsa, I must now let you go.
And I thought about that song though. Too Late, Too Soon. That was the one, the King Youngblood song.
There you go. That's a good one.
I got one more story real quick that you probably appreciate. I thought about this
please share.
A little bit ago. So Half Price Books, are they still open? Are they
Half
still
Price Books?
Yeah, do you remember that place?
No.
Yeah, no, maybe that was like a Texas thing. Yeah, it was like this, like, secondhand used bookstore.
We got a lot of those in California, but so we're on the same wavelength anyway.
Right? Yeah, it was like most of the store was books, and then you had one, like a third or to like a quarter of the store that was like not vinyls, but like CDs, and maybe they had cassettes or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That was a cool spot to go to. I guess it was one close to my high school. So I remember probably, sometime in high school, like maybe 11th or 12th grade, going into Half Price Books and attempting, to like, I'm going to read this section and read this and like, kind of like, then getting over to the music side of things and looking at CDs and like, I was like, oh, I've got a CD player in my car. I can use a CD. Let's look through. And then I saw this one, this is the closest thing I had to like, vinyl digging, but like, aside from, when vinyls got popular again, but I'm like looking through and see this one thing. I'm like, this looks interesting. Audio Slave. I don't know what this is. I'm like, that sounds like it's going to be heavy. I'm like, I don't know. It's $5. Let me try it. I like the cover. Yeah, got a couple of things, and like I had like 4 or 5 CDs, and like I'd never done that before. But I'm like, I'm gonna put it in the car.
You had
and, like,
no idea what you were getting into,
dude.
Which record was it? Was the first one?
Yeah, put it in the CD player, and I start like going around, and I just hear like that boom, boom, building. I'm like, what is happening? And then what's how do you pronounce it? I always say, I think it's Cochise, yeah, like that kicks off, and I'm like, what the heck, So yeah, that was big for me. Anyway, thought you guys would appreciate that.
Absolutely, I'm glad you shared that, man.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, so we got Blow coming out in March. Is there an album this year, or is it kind of a drip of singles?
There will be a full collection of songs at some point this year. The timeline I'm not exactly sure of yet. Aiming for summer, could be could be early fall, but there'll definitely be 3 songs out this sort of spring leading up to the summer. Definitely some collaborations will be happening. There's already some that have been recorded and whatnot. So yeah, probably some acoustic stuff as well. Maybe a live album. We might try to tackle a live album in North Carolina in April or so. But yeah.
All right.
Brett.
Well, I look forward to all of that. And whenever you come back to Los Angeles, I'll be in the crowd. It's Atlanta's own Zach Person, everybody.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you again to Zach for coming on the show. It's late in Atlanta when he's speaking to us, but time is a human construct, Paul.
Yes, it is. It is a human construct, and we appreciate Zach.
What the hell is this? Is that a windshield wiper?
No, McConaughey and True Detective. Have you seen that?
I forgot about that. It's a great season, by the way.
Circle. All right. Well, listen,
speaking of Austin, Texas.
Exactly.
Zach was in Austin for a minute.
Exactly. See, this all comes right back around because time is a flat circle.
Full circle.
Exactly. Listen, no.
What's funny?
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say what's funny is that I have not drank anything tonight, and you have, and so who knows who's drunk?
Exactly. Well, they don't know how many times you fumbled this edit up until this point. I do, however. So here's the deal.
How dare you?
We appreciate having such an authentic artist like Zach on. Not only is the music outstanding, but he's an even better person. And so we really, really appreciate having him on. Just really enjoy talking to people. And I love this idea that he writes a song and finds out for himself later what it actually means. I mean, and again, it's just like this whole concept of music as expression and as a vehicle for posing questions. And then for him, this was the manifestation of everything we've been talking about. This idea that, it is part of the dialogue. You know what I mean? It's not zeitgeist as much as it is discussion anymore. And so really enjoyed this conversation with him and very excited about the opportunity to talk to him again in the future. And of course, just to see him play with his guys. Looking forward to the band.
And watching or learning about how he's learning in real time how he can build bridges between audiences and himself. I love that because that's what music is supposed to do. We've been talking about it. We've been beating that drum for the last couple of weeks now, and we're going to keep beating it because it's on a loop, like a looper pedal.
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing, Paul?
A Boss loop pedal. Just going to...
Are you a Boss guy?
I am a Boss guy. For the loop
Actually,
pedal.
I think the Boss looper is the one of choice. Our friend Zosher, speaking of Seattle, Zosher is a big Ed Sheeran fan, and he is a king of the looper pedal when he was busking in Georgia.
Well, before Ed Sheeran was Howie Day, I'm just saying, like, I'm going early 2000s. Like, that's where I even, like, that's where I found the loop pedal in action. Like, nobody remembers who that guy is. We're going to find him, and we're going to have him on the show one day. Okay.
Let's get current. Remember when Bieber did it on the Grammys this year?
I don't need Carmen Sandiego. I need Howie Day.
Carmen Sandiego. Really?
Waldo? I don't know. Where's Waldo?
Let's get... Hey, pod idea. Rockapella. Let's go. Yes. Anyways, what the fuck is going on? I don't know. My water is gone. I haven't even been drinking. Maybe the key is I have to drink, so I act more sane. Anyway, if you've been watching this and you actually like it, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. And if listening only to this train wreck, Paul,
you're going to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm. Feed it because we need it. Thank you for being with us tonight.
And guys, we have a very exciting run of shows coming up leading to our 300th episode. I'm not going to give away too many details, but there's a few interviews coming up that I'm super stoked on. Mm-hmm. And we've got some Dark Matter anniversary stuff coming up. We've got later into the spring, we've got some Avocado 20th year. For our Pearl Jam fans, Avocado turns 20 this year. Mm-hmm. All kinds of fun stuff happening over the next handful of weeks. So stay tuned, and we're going to have a good time. We're gonna build those bridges, Paul.
It's time to start building. We're going to engineer the foundations of the Hope Machine. And the rest of you can keep feeding it. About that.
All these metaphors are falling apart like a house of cards. Anyways, we'll see you next week. And until we do, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.